talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.
Welcome back to another episode of Caged In. I'm your host, Chris DiCarlo. Today we got a very special guest making his debut on the show. It is Taquel Young. How we doing today, my man?
We're doing good, man. We're doing good. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Your record currently stands at 2-1 as an amateur. I know you got a big fight coming up October 19th at All or Nothing Fights 10, where you're taking on Secoriyon Shooks, excuse me. Before we get into that one, man, I do want to touch on your background a little bit. And first and foremost, I know the storm that kind of hit the southern region might have affected you in your area. I wanted to touch on that, man, and see how everything's going for you guys down there. I know off record you said, like, your school and your alma mater kind of got hit a little bit, man. So how's everything holding up for you guys down there?
Yeah, down here, man, everything's actually pretty good. It didn't affect my area that much. There are other areas that got affected. Like I told you off the record, there was a chemical fire along with the storm. So it's been kind of tough, man. My alma mater did get hit, Montreat College up near Asheville, North Carolina. It basically destroyed the area, man. Oh my goodness. So if anybody who's watching, if you guys would like to donate, look up Montreat College. They're promoting donations, GoFundMe's, all type of stuff, man. Please help them out, please.
For sure, man. Make sure you guys go, check out Montreat College's pages, man. Anything you guys can give to support the funds down there, man. We obviously appreciate it. Thoughts and prayers, obviously, from us up here to everybody affected, man. It's a tough time, and hopefully everybody gets through it safely, and the recovery process can begin as soon as possible.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Of course, man. All right, man, let's get into your background a little bit. Let the people get to know you a little bit better as a person before we start diving into the fight stuff, man. Where were you born and raised, and what was growing up like for you?
So I was born in Decatur, Georgia. I've actually spent most of my life in Stone Mountain, Georgia. I have a younger brother and a younger sister, but my sister's only 11. So growing up, it was mainly just me and my brother, man. We lived in Covington, Georgia, and we had to drive all the way to DeKalb, to go to school. We moved here in 2011, and that's when everything shifted, man. My sister was born 2 years later, so now I'm learning how to not just take care of a younger one, but like a girl, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's a little different, especially at a younger age. I did play a few sports growing up. I played football for one season, didn't like it. Ran track for 3 seasons, and then eventually I fell into wrestling. But the thing is, with wrestling, I did it to get better at MMA. MMA was actually my first love. I did karate when I was 7 because I wanted to do MMA. MMA and WWE, pro wrestling, that was the thing, man. Everybody was young. That was what they wanted to do. Everybody just wrestle with their friends and their brothers and sisters, man. It was cool. But I wanted to do MMA. I fell in love with MMA since I was like 7, 8 years old. And so, but I didn't have the resources to really get into it, I boxed a little bit when I was 16, but that was only for like 3 months. And then when I found out I was able to wrestle through school, and it just went uphill from there. I loved it. I was like, this is my gateway right here. I have to do this. And I wrestled for 2 years in high school. And fortunately enough, God blessed me to be able to have multiple scholarship offers to college. And I took one up to Emmanuel College up in Athens, Georgia, D2 school now. I transferred 2 years later to Montreat College up in Black Mountain, North Carolina.
There you go, man. Obviously extensive wrestling background. I do want to touch on that in a little bit, man. But let's go back to your introduction to MMA a little bit, man. When did you first get into the MMA gym and start chasing this MMA dream? And why did MMA catch your eye so early? And, why was this kind of the path you wanted to take?
So to be honest, I first got into a gym. It was Team Octopus. Like I said, when I was 16, I was boxing. It was Team Octopus. My dad was trying to help me out, but we can only afford doing one class. We couldn't afford doing multiple classes. So I was only able to take the boxing class, and I would stay so late. boxing class was like an hour. I would stay for like 2 more hours after that. I would stay for like 3 hours. I would try to do Muay Thai if I can, if they allow me. Sometimes they would catch me and be like, "Nah, you can't do that."
Yeah, for
So I was
sure.
like, "It's cool." After boxing class, it was this Hispanic guy, man. I think his name was Randy. I want to say his name was Randy. If it wasn't, I apologize, but I want to say his name was Randy. He was a black belt in jiu-jitsu. After boxing class, me and him would roll, and he would teach me. He would teach me and just let me feel everything out. You know what I mean? Because he was Hispanic, so the English didn't really translate well. But he would just let me feel everything out, and it really helped so much, especially later down the line when I was able to transition my wrestling to jiu-jitsu, grappling, MMA grappling, not just jiu-jitsu, but MMA grappling. I got in it really early. I want to say, I really want to credit my dad for getting into it, for me getting into it really early, because he was actually the one who wanted to fight, but he felt like he was too old to start fighting, which, of course, now we know you're never too old to start. You got guys like Yoel Romero, Chris Weidman, 30 years old when he started.
Sure.
But you're never too old. But he would have it on, and you can kind of say he instilled the dream in me. But when I saw it, myself, that's when I made it my own dream. I made it say, yeah, he instilled it a little bit in me, but I chose it as my dream. That's something I wanted to do. And it's been really important to me to really uphold that childhood dream to me. I think it's a big thing to try to keep a piece of that child in you. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That childlike wonder, that childlike dream. I think it's a big piece of life. So I said, if nothing else, that's the one thing I'm going to keep from my childhood, and I'm going to chase that.
There you go, man. I love that. Let's talk about your wrestling career a little bit, man. I know in high school you were a 2-time state qualifier, ended up finishing third in one of those tournaments. Obviously, you mentioned that you wrestled at Emmanuel and Montreat. When you were coming out of high school, did you know that you wanted to wrestle at the collegiate level, man? And if so, like, why did you end up going to Emmanuel? Why was that your freshman year?
I actually did know I wanted to wrestle. Wrestling is just different, man. It's different from anything I've ever done. Even now, training in multiple martial arts is different, man, because wrestling instills in you to chase the glory of the grind. You understand? Like, there's really no real accomplishment in wrestling. It's so hard to just chase the glory of the grind. So that's really what made me want to go on to college. I'm like, there's more to this, and I got to see what it is. So as you mentioned, yeah, I was a 2-time state qualifier and got third. But when I was presented with multiple scholarship opportunities, the reason I chose Emmanuel was because they were giving me the most money.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't giving me a lot of money, but as far as like academics and athletics and being in state, they were giving me the most money. So it was easier. The problem with Emmanuel was that I wanted to study philosophy. That's what I wanted to study. I wanted to study philosophy to help with my mixed martial arts or martial arts in general. I wanted to study philosophy to help with that and just to gauge in how life interacts and all of that. Emmanuel didn't have philosophy. Mm-hmm. So I chose the next best thing, which was psychology. It still works. And thank God I did, because later down the line, I will go through tremendous mental trauma, put it like that. I will go through tremendous mental trauma, and I saw how it affected me as an athlete. So, yeah, that's how I ended up there.
Cool, man. You ultimately end up transferring to Montreat, man. What about that program caught your eye, and why was it time for you to, kind of switch gears and take your talents to Montreat?
So my assistant coach at Emmanuel, he was the one who was mainly training me. We were doing a bunch of one-on-ones. He was helping me get my technique down. I had freak athleticism, freak speed, freak strength, all of that, even as a smaller guy. But he honed my skills. His name was Jake Britt. He ended up getting a head coaching job at Montreat College. First year program, the year I went to. They were just starting up. He ended up getting a head coaching position. And the year I transferred, or my last year at Emmanuel, was also the year COVID hit. And my coach, I will never forget this. My head coach, they were kicking us out of school in March, and my head coach, I just happened to see him. He was helping some of his female wrestlers move out. Happened to see him. I kind of had an up and down relationship with him. I wrestled multiple weight classes. He was a big fan of cutting weight. Cutting weight just affects everybody differently. I could not do it. You know what I mean? My second year, I was weighing 157, had to cut down to 133. It just wasn't working out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And of course, cutting weight affected my performance. So I was like winning half my matches. But I saw him and I told him I was transferring. And this guy, instead of wishing me luck, this guy basically said, I don't think you're going to be any good. You know what I mean? That's basically, to sum up what he said, that's basically what he said to me. And so I was like, oh, that's cool, man. Thanks for everything, though. So I left, ended up going to Montreat, following my assistant coach.
There you go, man. That's a story of the transfer, man. You did find some success down there in college, man. Ultimately, when you wrap up your experiences, looking back on it now, what did you learn the most about yourself in that time? And then what have you learned that you've been able to carry with you into your MMA journey?
Yeah. So I discovered about myself that I had big insecurities about myself because I had that success, especially wrestling 2 years in high school. 2 years in high school, getting third place and only losing to the state champ that year, who was also a 3-time finalist. Big hit, you know what I'm saying? So when I got to college, obviously I thought I was going to be the best, especially D2 school. I thought I was good enough to go D1, you know? And so when I didn't have that success I had, it just put me in a depression, especially at the time around the time I was transferring, or the year I transferred, I had this relationship, especially being in a depression along with a relationship that's going bad, it doesn't affect you well, you know? So throughout most of my time in college, I was in college for 5 years. I want to say about 3 years, I suffered mentally and just didn't think I was good enough. Even my fourth year, it was kind of like that. The only reason why it wasn't as bad as my fourth year is because I wasn't able to wrestle. My third year, the year I transferred, and the beginning of my fourth year, I wasn't able to wrestle for multiple reasons. But that second semester, I went against Montreat's an NAIA school. I went against this kid who was ranked 17th in the nation from Reinhardt University. And Reinhardt's a really good school. Like at the time, I think they were like number 5 in the nation. So they're all guys, studs. But I went against this kid, and I faced national champs before, All-Americans, all types of stuff. But I lost. I just got my butt whooped. But this kid, something felt different about wrestling when I wrestled this kid. So I ended up winning that match in overtime. And that was my first time I ever seen my name in the national rankings. And from there, my confidence started to come back. It started to go up. But I still felt like I wasn't getting the recognition I deserved. So it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for me to feel like I was worthy or I was good enough to hang with the good guys, you know? It wasn't even my 5th year. I was ranked 9th. I was ranked 9th in the nation at the beginning. And even though I was winning, I was still losing some. I was coming off a hernia surgery right before the season. So it was just tough, man. But it wasn't until the conference semifinals, my senior year. It was a guy I had faced before. We had wrestled like 3 times before this. He was 5th in the nation. He had beat the eventual national champ from this year, earlier in the year. Or from that year, the eventual national champ from that year, he had beat him earlier in the year. And this guy was also in our conference too. But I was ranked 10th. He was ranked 5th. And like I said, we wrestled 3 times before. And we met up in the semifinals. It was the best match I've ever wrestled, ever. But I thought I was good enough. If I beat him before and he's beating other people that I haven't had the chance to face, I thought I was good enough. and I ended up winning that match 4-3. And I remember he was up 3-2. He was up 3-2, like 30 seconds left. I kept faking him out. I kept faking him out. Then finally, once he tired, I took a double leg, and I just held on. even to this day, I remember how I held on. I had him in a head and arm lock, and he stood up. And I remember praying to I was like, please God, don't let him get out. For like the last 10 seconds, I was just holding on. And as soon as that bell rung, I threw him off of me, and I took my straps down, which is really illegal. But I threw my straps down, and I just had the most hype thing. Like, if you go on my page, that first picture I had posted, that's from that moment. But that's when I thought, like, I belong here. You know what I mean? That's the moment I needed. And I almost quit my senior year too. I almost didn't go back to wrestling because of the hernia surgery, because of depression, all of that. I almost didn't go back. But God knew I needed to finish. And even though I didn't get All-American my senior year, that was the moment that was most important to me, because now, I think I can beat anybody. I don't care who you are. I think I can beat anybody.
There you go, man. I'm glad you finished out your college career, man, wrestling. Glad you're still here. Glad you're able to make it through all those things, man. Because there's nothing but, bright future for you on those horizons as well. Let's get into some of that stuff, man. I know your MMA camp that you're over at right now is ATT Team Lima. Describe the vibe of that gym, man. What's the culture like that the Lima brothers are building over there?
Yeah, so like I said, I love the gym. It's not a lot of wrestlers there, but a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, a lot of strikers, all of that, man. I came in as a southpaw wrestler, so kind of hard to figure out for most people, but with a lot of strikers who are advanced like that, not really. So I had to level up, you know what I mean? I had to level up my striking. I had to level up my grappling, everything, man. I just couldn't plateau myself to just being a southpaw wrestler.
For sure, man, 100%. And I know you got a big fight coming up at All or Nothing Fights 10. I do want to touch on your last fight, though, at NFC 167, where you took on Michael Meeson. You won that fight via third round arm triangle, and you landed that nasty, massive suplex over there in round 3 that kind of led you right into that arm triangle. Talk to me about that sequence, man, and how did it feel to get a highlight reel finish like that?
So we knew that his grappling was nowhere near mine. I could have standed up and traded with him, but it'd be no point in that. You know what I mean? Not when there's such a big discrepancy in the grappling. So I actually had tried to finish him in the first round. If you go in and watch the fight, I had an arm triangle locked up very early in the first round. And for some reason, he just felt really slippery. Some people just naturally sweat a lot, but it helped him to be able to get out of the submission. So I said, okay, cool. We're going to have to figure out the lock on this, where we're going to have to adjust my lock to make it tighter, and so he wouldn't be able to slip out. So second round comes, I'm just wearing him down some more. Trying to think. I'm really thinking in my head how I'm going to finish him without having him slip out of a submission. So I'm just constantly wearing him down as I'm thinking about that. Then third round comes, and he pops me with a good shot. It was one of the only shots he landed. But he popped me with a good shot, and I didn't like it. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like it. And I was like, all right, let me go ahead and get this guy up out of here. So I took him down again. He immediately turned his back to me, but because he kept slipping, I knew I wasn't gonna be able to get hooks in and keep his back. So I just held him and I let him work up along the cage. The thing is, when he got up along the cage, he stood straight up. And I was like, bro, I wanted to slam you anyway coming into the fight, so thanks for this. So when he stood straight up, I suplexed him, and I landed in side control. I eventually landed in side control. And later on in the round, not a few, like 30 seconds later, he kept turning his back to try to slip back into mount. So what I did was I got they call it a Dagestani handcuff. We just call it an arm bar. I got an arm bar to basically keep him, like if he turned his back to me, basically keep him right there. He wasn't going to be able to roll back over and to put me in mount, none of that. So I got an arm bar, and he tried to roll, couldn't go. So he rolled to the side that I had an arm bar on, And when he did it, he basically tried to roll out. And as soon as he did that, he left all this space right here. So I ended up latching on the arm triangle, and I tightened it, adjusted my lock, and got the finish.
There you go, man. Congratulations on that. And that's the one that brought you to 2-1. And that leads us right up into All or Nothing Fights 10, where you're taking on Secoriyon Shooks, who is 2-2. What do you know about Shooks, man? And how do you feel about him as an opponent?
So I don't really know too much about him. I do know that he trains out of a boxing gym. So I'm assuming he's a striker or has some pretty good striking. I do know that he has a knockout loss, a submission loss, and a unanimous decision loss. I know I named 3. I believe one of them might have been a Muay Thai fight. So what that tells me off rip is that he may not be as skilled as I am in grappling. So we'll be looking to take it there, but obviously not force it. There's not too many people I think are as skilled as I am anyway, but we'll be looking to take it to the ground if we can, not forcing it, and come up with a game plan to strategically handle him in order for not for us to just get the victory, but to get a dominant finish. You know, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a dominant finish in any fight that I have up until I turn pro now.
There you go, man. And then stylistically, when you break it down, your skill versus his, where do you see yourself having the biggest advantages? And is there anywhere in his game that you feel like might give you some trouble?
Yeah, I feel like if he's able to keep it on the outside and defend shots, might be a little troublesome. Not saying it would give him the win, but it might be a little easier for him to hold me off for longer, you know. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, if he can, then I don't think he gets himself the victory in that night. You know, I think that would be the best game plan for him. But outside of that, nothing else really does it.
For sure, man. And what can the fans in attendance in East Ridge, Tennessee expect from Taquel Young once those cage doors lock on October 19th?
The fans can expect impression. I am all about impression. One thing I'm looking to do with my fights, I'm not only looking to have dominant victories. I want to make it exciting, but I want to make it exciting in a way to where it's not just cage fighting. You understand? Like, yes, we are fighters, but me first, I'm a martial artist. Okay. It is an art to me. So I'm looking to always put on a master class. I have his tattoo on my back, Ephesians 2:10, for I am God's masterpiece. That is what I'm always looking to do. I'm always looking to put on a masterpiece, a master class. So the fans can expect impression from me. If nothing else, impression.
There we go, man. And do you have any prediction on how you see yourself getting this one done on Saturday night? I don't know if you're one much for predictions, but if you are, man, do you have a specific one for how you see this one playing out?
I'm not really one much for predictions, but I do expect a finish. Whether it comes by knockout, TKO, submission, doesn't really matter. I do expect a finish.
For sure, man. And this will be your third fight in 2024. Do you want to get back in there before the end of the year? Is this kind of the last one you have planned out, and we'll see you back early 2025? You know, what's the plan kind of for you moving forward for the rest of the year?
I'm kind of going back and forth. Part of me, deep down, I do want to get back in there before the end of the year. Part of me kind of wants to sit back only because I want to kind of gauge things. You know what I mean? So if I can't get in there before the end of the year, I definitely want to get in there early 2025, because by end of fall 2025, look for me to make my pro debut.
Awesome, man. And with a win on October 19th, you will be 3-1. Ideally, what do you want next? Are you looking at any titles in the region that you got your eye on? Any specific opponents that you got your eye on over there in your spot?
So I'm not really looking for titles. Titles are cool and all, but there's only one title that matters to me. It's that UFC belt. Okay. That's what I fell in love with. That's the belt I want. So I'm not really looking for titles. I am looking to face certain opponents to gauge my skill level. But that's only like one or two guys, you know. I would like to face a grappler next so I can force myself to stand up and put on my striking display. But outside of that, yeah, I'm just looking for certain opponents to gauge my skill level. Other than that, we go as we go. Whoever signs that dotted line is who comes.
There we go, man. Taquel, thank you for taking the time, man. I appreciate you. Before I let you go, where can the people come find you on social media? And if you got a shout out anybody you want to thank, man, this is your time.
Yeah, so the people can find me. You can follow me on Instagram at ta.quel. That is my Instagram handle. Follow ATT Team Lima. Great guys over there. I have a buddy, Nathan Rivera, BF Bare Knuckles, looking to come to Atlanta. Look for Nathan to be on that card, man. That dude is a future star right there. I have a few other guys with fights coming up. Look out for anybody from ATT Team Lima. Again, prayers up to my alma mater in Montreat College and anybody else who was affected by the storm. And thank you for having me, brother.
Of course, man. Anytime. Go out there, get the W, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon, man.
Yes, sir.
Got down for the count and he can't even talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.